Did you know Freedom Rocs has swag? You can help stimulate the economy and show how much you like Freedom Rocs at the same time. We've got t-shirts for men and women. We've got coffee mugs and beer steins. We've got food and beverage thermoses. You can get your own Freedom Rocs swag with the show logo, as seen in the opening title of the show, right here at our Cafe Press shop. That's cafepress.com/freedomrocs.
Good evening. Welcome to Freedom Rocs. Tonight we're discussing Libertarian campaigns. A couple days ago, as of this taping, the Greater Rochester Libertarian Party endorsed 3 candidates for the offices of County Legislator. They endorsed myself, Chris Eads, and Drew Beeman. And we'll bring Drew in for his candidate interview in a later episode. Additionally, Chris will interview me in a later episode about my campaign. But for now, let's talk about your campaign.
Well, I'm excited to be running for county legislature. There's a number of things I want to do, and I hope that they will be innovative solutions to the county's problems.
The county has problems?
Some problems.
Okay.
Some problems.
Fiscal problems?
Yeah. Well, there's a limited number of things we can do about the fiscal situation, because actually about 3/4 of the budget is state mandates. So the state basically controls 3/4 of what we spend and says you have to spend money on these things. We don't have a lot of control over that. And if they end up passing...
How much control does the legislature have over how much is spent on these things?
No, that's a good question. I mean, I know the state has offered some options, like the county, for instance, when dealing with Medicare. Monroe County actually had the foresight to choose an option that the state offered, which allowed it to restructure the way it made its payments, and that turned out to be a good thing. But again, it's the state basically had to offer the county this option. I mean, I think they have administrative control, largely in terms of how they do the programs. They hire people, and those people hire other people, and they're the ones that actually implement it and have internal policies and things like that. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, for instance, with Medicare, by and large, and I'm not a Medicare expert, but pretty much it's the federal government that prescribes, the benefits that you get from Medicare, and it's simply implemented on the local level, which is a good idea because it provides some flexibility and opportunity to make things more efficient. But the actual benefits that have to be paid out, the county doesn't have a lot of control over. So it's, in terms of being able to reduce the expenditures, I'm sure there could be some administrative efficiency involved. They could try to figure out how to do, process claims with less people and that sort of thing.
Oh, the unions are going to love that.
Yeah, well, we all have to make sacrifices. Actually, I'll get into that in a minute, actually, because there's, we need our political leaders to make sacrifices too. But we have the ability to save a little money, but most of that we don't have much control over. We have to spend the money. The state, Medicare is a federal mandate that the state then passes on to the county, and there are other things that the state just mandates on its own, and there's very little left over that's actually discretionary.
Now, one of the problems is that, and it's something you can overcome if you can fend off union influence, and that is that some of the mandated spending is only mandated because we take state and federal funds. Do you have the fortitude to decline state and federal funds?
I have no problem with declining the state and federal funds if I think that they're actually forcing us to waste money or to do things that I consider to be wrong. You know, for instance, you know, and this is obviously this is a city issue, not a county issue, but because the city of Rochester takes a certain kind of federal funds for education, they then must allow ROTC recruiters into their schools to recruit students into the military. You know, if I was in charge of the city schools, I would say, well, just don't give us the money then, because schools are for educating children and to make their own.
Not preparing them to die in battle.
Yeah, right. It's to educate people, you know, to make whatever decision they want, not to train soldiers, and certainly not to have them go in without their parents being present. You know, without any authority figure they trust, without their minister being present, without their parents being present, without their teacher being present, you know, and you know, taking a teenager and you know, trying to get them to sign their life away. You know, I think that's wrong. It's after they graduate, when they're full adults, if that's the decision they want to make, fine. But I mean, not to get too far off topic, that would be one situation in which I turn down federal funds, something like that. It was a moral issue, and also obviously if they're actually we lose money because of the requirements that come with it, then it's you know, that's a no-brainer. So definitely, yeah. And before I forget, I did, while we're on the topic of the unions, I think they will be pleased by some of the things, because if regardless of what the state legislature does with regard to gay marriage, I intend to propose that you know, spousal benefits be extended to same-sex couples for county workers, and presumably the union would be in support of that, because those people would receive benefits that they otherwise would not receive. On the other hand, I mean, we do have to save money. I propose to start at the top. I'm not remembering right now what the county executive makes. It's a six-figure salary. It's something like 5 or 6 times as much as the median income in Monroe County, and that's just ridiculous. You know, and we should have people that serve in these positions because it's a privilege. It's a privilege to do something good for the community, and not to make money. And so we should definitely be capping definitely capping any increase in the salaries of the county executive and you know, her, and it's going to be her, you know, whether the Democrat or Republican wins, it's going to be her. And, you know, capping, you know, any raises or bonuses that they can get. My own salary as a county legislator is, you know, I want to cut that too. You know, I'm not going to ask anyone to make a sacrifice that I'm not going to make myself. So, you know, that should, in any discussion about, you know, what we're going to pay people, we should start out with that and saying we're going to start at the top with the people in charge.
Now I have to interrupt you because we're just about out of time for this segment. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Did you know high-quality versions of all episodes of Freedom Rocs are available on DVD? Each DVD contains 3 episodes for just $15. We also have specials that aren't on our CTV or YouTube. You can find links to all of our DVDs on the Freedom Rocs website, freedomrocs.cybermansoftware.com.
Hi, welcome back to Freedom Rocs. As always, we would like to remind you that this is a cable access show. That means we don't get Nielsen ratings. So we don't know you're watching unless you tell us you're watching. So if you get a chance, why don't you swing by this website at the bottom of your screen, Freedom Rocs, that's freedomrocs.cybermansoftware.com. Let us know what you think, what you like, what you don't like. Feel free to spout off if you'd like to be a guest, you want to debate, you want to discuss libertarian issues or debate the counterpoint, we'd be interested in having you. Now we're continuing our discussion with Libertarian candidate for Monroe County Legislator, Chris Eads.
Glad to be here.
You want to plug your website?
My website is currently a vote-freedom.org. for-chris.net. Right now, if you go to it, you'll just see a coming soon page, but you can type in your email address and click a button, and that goes into a little list I have, and I'll send you an email when it's up. It's not a mailing list subscription. It's just to send me an email when your website's up. But once the website is up, then there'll also be an option that you can join a mailing list, and I'll send you updates about the campaign and that sort of thing. You know, you can go ahead to the site and bookmark it, and you know, set up an RSS feed if that's what you like to do, and you know, I'll let you know when it's active.
Okay, now another issue of importance to libertarians. Actually, let's go back to the money for a second. A lot of libertarians are big fans of homeschooling. Now, one of the most valuable resources for homeschool parents is the public library system. Now, when you're talking about cutting discretionary spending, quite frankly, the library system falls under that. Where do you stand on library funding?
You know, I don't have a problem with libraries. You know, I think in an ideal world, you know, libraries could be covered by user fees, and I think people would save. You know, it's certainly a lot cheaper than everyone going out and buying a copy of the same book. But you know, a lot of people rely on libraries. I think that you know, having an informed and educated population is a good thing. You know, if we were seriously running out of money, and you know, we couldn't pay for things like police and fire departments, you know, we might consider taking a look at the public libraries. Or you know, if somebody could show that there was some tremendous amount of waste going on, I mean, certainly that would be worth looking into. But that's not the first thing. You mean
like the library's paying for people to download porn?
Yeah, well, you know, if
No, I'm just kidding with you. I know. See, Chris and I both work in information technology. We're both computer geeks. We know that Maggie Brooks's line about paying for people to access porn in the library was hogwash, because you're paying the same amount of money for the electricity, no matter what people are looking at. You're paying the same amount whether people are looking at erotic imagery or cats doing stupid things on YouTube. Bandwidth is bandwidth. So I was just having some fun with him.
Yeah, well, I was going to say you'd have to be able to prove that there was actually money being spent on that, but yeah. So no, I'm not. You know, I'm not about to cut the library. You know, like I said, there's really not a lot of room a lot of wiggle room on the budget other than salaries. With 3/4 of the budget being state mandates, and you know, basic things like police, fire.
But isn't the sheriff's department partially funded by money stolen from alleged drug dealers?
Yeah, and you know, I think I'm going to have to cut off that source of revenue, because it just gives the police an incentive to take things from people, and they seize the assets before these people are convicted of a crime, so they could be innocent, and yet their property.
Some cases before they're even charged with a crime. If you're in public and the police catch you in possession of more than $750 cash, they can presume. They can just assume that it's drug revenue, and they can confiscate it from you. They give you a receipt, and you have to go to court and prove that you have a legitimate reason for having that much cash. You have to prove that you have some legal means of acquiring cash.
Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's a whole other conversation. But you know, it just encourages corruption. If the police can take your car, you know, can take large amounts of money, You know, anything they think could be.
Gee, you know, that sounds like it runs afoul of the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment. Not to mention the excessive fines clause of the Eighth Amendment.
Yeah, there's a lot that's unconstitutional about how we prosecute the drug war, but obviously the county legislature is not the place where we're going to make a change there and you know, either get people into treatment programs or things like that. You know, not as long as we're still dealing with state law, although there have been some improvements in that regard. What we can do is, you know, since the county sets the budget, including the sheriff's office's budget, is we can say, well, look, guys, you know, we want you to focus on murders, robberies, arson, you know, things.
Cats in trees.
Yeah, cats in, you know, and not on, or, you know, if someone is violent, you know, and they're a drug dealer, fine. You know, if they're going around waving their gun around, if they're saying, you know, if they go to another drug dealer on their block and they're like, hey, this is my block, son, and they pull a gun on them, yeah, arrest them. You know, who said, no one's saying that that should be acceptable. But if they're just sitting at home, not hurting anybody, then it's a waste of taxpayer dollars to go after them. And, you know, the county legislature should explicitly, in the sheriff's office budget, say, you know, that's not something that you should be spending your money on. And in addition, you know, if you do get involved in a raid, you know, and you take someone's property, you don't get to just keep it. You know, you can't just go in there and grab a car and say, oh, you know, this is a lot better than the you know, 5-year-old cruisers we've been driving around. You know.
And afraid I'm going to have to interrupt you again because we're just about out of time for this segment. We'll be right back.
As you may have noticed, you can watch Freedom Rocs for free on RCTV or on YouTube, but it takes money to produce good quality TV shows. You can support Freedom Rocs by shopping at our Cafe Press shop. There you can find t-shirts for men and women, tote and gin bags, coffee mugs, beer steins, food and beverage thermoses, and a bunch of other items Cafe Press offers. You can find our shop at cafepress.com/freedomrocs, all lowercase and no apostrophe.
Welcome back to Freedom Rocs. We're discussing Chris Eads' Libertarian campaign for Monroe County Legislator. Now, you're in the 24th district, is that correct?
Correct, yes. The district that was vacated by Harry Bronson when he moved up to the Assembly and is now held by Josh, I'm not sure if it's Bayruth, B-A-R-O-U-T-H. He was appointed to fill the seat basically in exchange for his services to the Democratic Party elites as co-chair of their Coalition for Kids to give the mayor control of city schools, which should really be called the Coalition for Politicians, which has a better ring to it anyway, you know. Kind of rhymes.
Yeah, it's probably more accurate too.
Yeah, and so, you know, he served as the co-chair, and in exchange for his service to the party elites, they rewarded him with this position. The voters never elected him, and now the voters have a chance to weigh in, and they can choose him or they can choose me. You know, I have always been a grassroots candidate. I have never sought the Monroe County Democratic Committee's endorsement, even when I ran in the Democratic primary, because I felt that was the wrong direction. And
you didn't want to kiss Herr Gantt's ring?
Well, I mean, it's not just that. I mean, we see what happened with the special election for mayor. I mean, they basically violated the plain intent of the city charter, which was to appoint somebody and then have a regular election. So they could not have a primary, have a very compressed signature collection period, so it would be, you know, basically, you know, impossible for anyone to challenge them.
Oh, and speaking of signature collection periods, for those who don't know, there's two kinds of lines on the election ballot. There's constituted political parties and independent nominating bodies. Now, being libertarians, we're an independent nominating body, which we missed out by about that much in the last gubernatorial election We came that close to getting the 50,000 votes we needed to become a constituted political party. So right now, the constituted political parties are Democratic, Republican, Independents, Conservative, Working Families, and Green. They get on the ballot pretty much automatically. Independent nominating bodies don't. We have to slug it out in July and August, the hottest time of the year, going around, and ordinarily we'd hit up the festivals, but nobody knows what legislative district they're in, and county legislator candidates need signatures from voters in their respective districts. That means door to door. So, if you like what Chris has to say, or if you like what I have to say when my interview comes up, feel free to drop us a line. Let us know you'd be interested in helping carry petitions. If you can get 10, 20, 30 signatures for us, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're not the candidate that has to do it day after day after day, it's actually fun. Mm-hmm. You know, you get to meet people, you get to talk about the issues. You know, it's and it's a valuable experience if you yourself are considering a career in politics at any point. So yeah, I mean, we can certainly use the help. You know, the system is not rigged to help the independents and the little parties. It goes the other way.
Yeah, definitely not. But we may not have that problem in future years. We currently have a lawsuit pending, and we'll go into that a little more detail when our state chairman comes to town for a visit. We're gonna try and book the studio at the same time he's in town, and we'll discuss all those details about that then. For now, do you know the general geographic boundaries of the 24th district?
Yeah, so there was, with the redistricting, it was redrawn a little bit, but it's still mostly the same thing. It's basically Rochester and Brighton. I think there's a little more Rochester and less Brighton this time around.
I think there's even a sliver of Henrietta.
Really?
I think so.
Is it still, because it doesn't go as far south as it used to go.
Okay, maybe it's not, maybe it doesn't have Henrietta anymore. It used to.
Yeah, it used to, but it's used to go down further south, and now it's been sort of broadened. It's basically wider and not as tall.
Yeah, basically the south side of the city, strong hospital neighborhood, strong hospital on south. If you live in that district, vote for Chris.net.
Yeah, like it says on the website.
Yep. And of course, talk them up to your friends and neighbors. Help us petition. We got to get candidates on the ballot.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, if you're interested in what I have to say, if you want to ask questions, you know, if you have a neighborhood association, feel free to invite me. I believe you may have to invite my opponent as well to conform with all applicable laws, but I encourage that. Invite us both at the same time.
Opponent? Singular? Oh, that's right.
There's no Republican.
There's no committee-endorsed Republican this year, though we don't necessarily know if anyone's circulating designating petitions.
Right. They might. There might be Republicans circulating petitions, but the committee didn't endorse anybody. And you know, at least if you go to their Facebook page, you know, there's people posting saying, "Hi, I'm running in this campaign. I'm running in that campaign." Nobody has mentioned the 24th Legislative District, which is my district. I visited the Independence Party website, and they did endorse one of the Republicans, but they also do not have anyone for the 24th district. It's possible the Working Families Party will endorse the Democrat. Unlikely that they would run their own candidate.
Possible or almost certain?
Yeah, almost certain. I mean, there are times they go their separate ways, but you know, it's pretty certain that it's going to be this guy that was never elected, that was appointed, you know, as a political favor for his back scratching of the party elites, and me. So, you know, You know,
this could be the year for a big Libertarian showing.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly if it's going to happen, it could be this election in my district, because we've got a relative unknown who has got a lot of baggage, you know, especially with Democrats and who are dissatisfied with the way the election for mayor played out. We're dissatisfied with the push for mayoral control of city schools. You know. And
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it at that. We're just about out of time. You've been watching Freedom Rocks. Let us know what you think right here at this website. See you next time.